We know that the combinations of old age and cardiometabolic conditions are what's causing death in COVID. If you don't have cardiometabolic conditions, you are unlikely to die even if you are at old age. And so one of the strategies to deal with the problem would be to reduce cardiometabolic conditions. And that is something that we can luckily do. We have the interventions about including nutritional interventions that are approved or authorized in Europe, to reduce cardiometabolic conditions. And the way we got that was through genetics. We reanalyzed genetic data that other people found useless using a statistical approach that was rediscovered over 20 years at the Rockefeller University from something that was originally conceived in the 1940s but became feasible only in 2001. And when we did this, we identified a common component in many age-related diseases, and that is high levels of serum phospholipids driving endocytosis. Now, endocytosis is involved in COVID in two ways. One thing is endocytosis is known as the driving force against many age-related conditions. It's beneficial early in life, but can have disastrous effects later. And the other situation where we have endocytosis is shown here in this graph. And it is for viruses to enter cells, they need to be endocytosed. So if you're reducing endocytosis, you are not only reducing, as shown above, you're not only reducing atherosclerosis and type 2 diabetes, but you're also reducing the ability of the virus to replicate. So you have an effect that is a synergistic effect. In the first part, you're producing fewer viruses, producing fewer infected cells. And so the wound that is created at the end of the incubation period is much smaller than it otherwise would be when the immune system kills all cells that are infected. And then if you don't have atherosclerosis, if you don't have type 2 diabetes or milder forms of it, then the healing of that wound is much improved. And the combination of the two is a beneficial effect that is likely to prevent most, if not all, of the death from COVID. Finally, what we needed to do after we had an approved compound as a nutraceutical in Europe and in the United States, or as a food for special medical purposes, we need to make sure that we can actually administer it. The key component is alpha-cyclodextrin. Cyclodextrins are a type of fiber, a starch, but unfortunately, under most conditions, cyclodextrins are not being absorbed from the intestine. And we found that there are important conditions when they are absorbed, when they're taken together with milk or milk products. And we identified the milk component that would allow cyclodextrins to be absorbed from the intestine. And that milk component is capric acid, a fatty acid part of fats. And then the alpha-cyclodextrin gets absorbed from the intestine. So we created a compound that binds together, but not covalently, but non-covalently, so it can separate fast. It binds together the capric acid and the alpha-cyclodextrin, and that's at the bottom here. And when it gets into the intestine, it because it's bound together, it guarantees that the capric acid is exactly where the alpha-cyclodextrin is. And so when the alpha-cyclodextrin and capric acid compound, the ASDCOV, hits the intestinal wall, then the capric acid makes sure that the alpha-cyclodextrin gets absorbed. And we have the full benefit of the synergistic action. We can reduce the replication of the virus, and we can reduce the side effects that prevent the body from healing the wound created by the immune system. So we have a compound that is approved in Europe and in the United States as a food or food for special medical purposes, can be marketed relatively easily within days in the United States. In Europe, it may take a week or two. And we have something that people could take and would be safe enough to reduce the damage that is done when they get infected with COVID, to reduce the severity of the disease, and to achieve, in a sense, exactly what people want to achieve with vaccines, and that is avoiding the severe phenotypes while doing exactly like vaccines do. You cannot avoid infection per se, but if the infection is mild and causes only a minor phenotype, then this is as bad as a flu would be, and we can handle that easily. So this is the poster that I was preparing to present, and that I hope is available to everybody who had the chance to listen to my presentation. And I'm open to hear questions if there are any.